You never had unrest in so many towns and so little towns whose name I never heard of. Sometimes small towns.
So in a way, this is unprecedented.
It's unprecedented, absolutely. What we've seen, you must have seen that for the past few days, is young kids between 12 and 16 rejoicing to loot.
Voilà, première avenue c'est fait, la suite c'est en train.
In that there is a certain level of hatred against the French, And of course, many people who are from this neighborhood have been trying to pacify the situation, even the imam, because of course many of these people, they are Muslims.
Why is France having the worst of all?
But that I don't know, actually. That's a question I'm asking myself. Even though they have a French passport, they do not feel French. So the question would be, is it their fault, or is it the fault of the French society or the French government?
What is really happening in France, and why is it happening?
Well, what's happening in France is the result of many causes. I mean, reasons are many-fold, like historical, political, sociological, religious sometimes. It's not really the main thing, but so there are a number of reasons which explains that we are now in this situation. So, of course, we are a post-colonial country, and a lot of people from Northern Africa and West Africa came in the 60s to work in France. Then, of course, they married, and then they had children who became French, but who, for a number of reasons, were never assimilated in the French society. So they lived in suburbs, they still live in suburbs, which were, of course, poor suburbs. Somehow people felt more and more alienated from mainstream. How do you explain that we have gone to that situation, which has got actually from bad to worse for the past few decades? Of course, the policies of the different governments, even though some of them try to improve, try to assimilate people, try to bridge the gap between ethnic minorities, or again people who are from African origin, but that didn't work. It's very easy to understand, but of course there are reasons which are complex. What I can see is definitely many people who live in suburbs have take a different route, And of course, a certain number of people, even though they have a French passport, they do not feel French. So the question would be, is it their fault, or is it the fault of the French society or the French government? I would say, of course, it's both. I think the French government, and as I said, the different governments have been trying to improve the situation, and they have tried to improve the situation. I think the figure would be like €1 billion a year has been, allocated a budget, and most of the sociologists nowadays acknowledge the fact that the situation has improved in many places. But somehow, it's not because you are making adjustment and making you improve in terms of the way where people live that is going to have an effect immediately. It takes some time. If you destroyed very old buildings and you replace it by new buildings which are more comfortable, which are clean, you are planting trees or these kind of things, it has been done. But But the problem, as I said, it takes some time, as I understand, for these things to actually have an effect on the on the people. And then, of course, you had for the past 20 years more and more migrants who came, more and more people who either became French or who did not become French. The very dramatic side of what happened for the past few days is that you have been an uprising of people in small towns which were very quiet. Nanterre, the suburb where the killing happened of this young guy. Nanterre, all these suburbs around Paris, northern Paris especially, Marseille, Lyon. Yes, you've been having riots and unrest in these places for so many years. But you never had unrest in so many towns and so little towns whose name I never heard of, sometimes, small towns.
So in a way, this is unprecedented.
It's unprecedented, absolutely.
And do you think that all this violence and rioting on the streets, it is going to have an impact on the government and on society?
Well, you see, I think it's going to have an impact on the next election. I think definitely as far as today, because next presidential elections are only in 2027. But there are many bandits who foresee that Marine Le Pen and the far right could win, because of course for the mainstream French there are so many people who feel really threatened and frightened by the situation, like shopkeepers, like lower middle class or even middle class, who live in these places, and they've never seen that before. So yes, there's going to be an impact. There's going to be an impact on the way the French government tackles the immigration. There is a trend in the entire Europe for the immigration policy to be reviewed. So certainly we're going to assist into a toughening of the immigration laws and policies across Europe. I don't understand why the situation is worse in France than anywhere else in Europe. Because, there are similar situations up to a point in Germany, in England, in Denmark, in,
And there are no elections nearby, actually.
No.
I mean, one could speculate that the elections are approaching, and that's why there is something like this.
But at the same time, you've seen that in Finland, in Denmark, in Sweden, far-right parties have become member of coalitions. Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, she belongs to a post-fascist party. I'm not talking about Poland, Slovakia, all the Eastern European countries which have, gone to the right side of the political spectrum, So, but even though they have their own problems with the foreigners or the migrants who have become citizens of their countries, you don't have, England. Lots of Indians, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, lots of people from South Asia. I'm not saying things have been going smooth in the UK, not at all.
Why is France having the worst of all?
But that I don't know, actually. That's a question I'm asking myself. As I said, I can understand the root cause of the problem. As I said, history, society, economy, ghettos, using of the labor force which is cheaper.
Yeah.
So that's the same everywhere in Europe. I don't think France is more racist than England or Germany. I don't think so. Is the police more racist in France than in England or in Germany? Maybe, maybe not, I'm not sure. In France, we are. There is of course racism and there is discrimination. There is no doubt about it. But I don't understand again why there is this level of violence, this level of. Of course, what we've seen, you must have seen that for the past few days, is young kids between 12 and 16 rejoicing to loot, shops, and it's.
I come from what the West would say third world. I come from Kashmir, and we've seen rioting and violence on the streets.
Yeah.
And we're seeing similar images here. So this
Yes.
looks like a third world problem in the first world.
What is worrisome is the fact that apparently there are many young kids. They would loot. They would, as I say, rejoice as stealing shoes or not. They would not necessarily steal TVs or no. They would steal sometimes ice cream, biscuits.
Yeah. Very, very
So, but the fact is, and that's a matter of concern, is that there is a certain level of hatred against the French, so that means we don't respect you, we don't like you, we don't like your police, we don't belong, we don't feel that we belong here. We have a French passport, but we don't like you. And that's very bad, And of course, many people who are from this neighborhood have been trying to pacify the situation, even the imam, because of course many of these people, they are Muslim. The imam, the elders, the eldest brothers, they could not even control them. Even the people who may be the first to criticize the French and the government and the lack of policies and the failure of the government on the suburbs, even these people, they realize that you can't go on like this because these young people were destroying things which were actually made for them. Like cultural center.
the public property.
And no, but not only public property, but things which were for the people. So yes, there's a bit of an enigma.